Welcome back at this seminar Beyond REPAiR, Making the Transition to a Circular Economy Happen. We just had a short break of 10 minutes after 3 excellent keynotes, and we hope you have enjoyed those. And we will actually now continue with what we consider as a very important dissemination as well, because it is let's say, the outcomes of the REPAiR projects of the past 4 years of research. And we are really proud of these outcomes. And I would like to give the floor to share with you the whole set of outcomes. I give the floor to Alex Wandel, who is the scientific coordinator of REPAiR, and he will walk you through all the different aspects, after which the different panelists, which are co-responsible in this large consortium of 18 different institutions and over almost 60 people active involved in the research, and who will represent the work packages in the panel discussion afterwards. Don't forget to write down your questions in the chat box in Hopin, because that will feed into the discussion afterwards. Okay, Alex Wandel, please.
Thank you, Arian, for the introduction. Warm welcome also from my side. I'm really indeed happy and proud to present you the results of the REPAiR project. And I'm not doing this here alone, but I'm doing this for many of our partners and colleagues that you see here on the slide, because overall we were 18 partners in 7 countries that worked now 4.5 years together. We did so in 6 case study cities, where we had our peri-urban living labs, or pools, how we call them. The cities are Naples in Italy, Pécs in Hungary, Łódź in Poland, Hamburg in Germany, Ghent in Belgium, and Amsterdam, where we are sitting here today. Let me just give you a quick reminder of what the aim of REPAiR was. So the objective was to develop a geodesign decision support environment, GDSE, I will tell you more in detail about this, that allows decision makers to make integrative spatial development strategies that see waste and related processes as a resource. The ambition had several aspects. One of them was, of course, to extend the concept of urban metabolism, also including governance settings and sociocultural characteristics, but also going beyond the focus on industrial symbiosis and product design, including also space and resource management in this on. And we wanted to contribute to participatory and science-based decision making. When formulating this, the shift of what we aim to do in one sentence is actually from waste as a resource to integrating resource management into regenerative spatial development. So it's really breaking down these pillars and these silos of spatial planning, spatial development, and resource and waste management. Just a quick reminder, Arian already introduced, so we are living in a linear economy. The circularity gap is large, and this linear economy has multiple phenomena. Well, we were talking about the material the generation of material waste, which most of us are aware, and there's also a broad awareness of this. Images of polluted oceans, islands, and animals' stomachs full of waste are going around the world and make an impact. But there is also something that is less aware, and that is that our linear economy also wastes parts of our physical environment, wastescapes, how we call them. And this is important because there is where waste management and resource management come together with spatial qualities and planning. And this is, of course, when you look closer on where the resources we extract really go to, very apparent, because more than 50% go in housing infrastructure, another bit more than a quarter into the production of food and our nutrients and mobility. So the big part of resources that we extract go into our into our physical built environment, be in big cities, villages, landscapes, and so on. So this relation is very direct. What is important, and we heard also a little bit about this beforehand, is the third aspect here is people and the waste behavior. And I have to say, this shows a map across Europe about the awareness and the willingness to consider recycling, reuse of materials, and so on. And we have to say, the people are actually there. In comparison to other urging questions like mobility or climate, the awareness of using waste as a resource or avoiding waste is much more present in the society. And this is important because the future cities and landscapes in a circular world will look different, very different, perhaps. I brought you here two illustrations of students of us that designed these futures. And you see on the left one that is shows an adaptation of the existing, and to the right, a more futuristic, perhaps, or complete different world. And this is, well, that's inspiring. So we have to think about how will our world in the future look like? And this is something to think so. But how do we get there? How do we get to a regenerative future? And what were the small contributions of REPAiR that we could contribute to that already? So, Arjan introduced already urban metabolism as a concept beforehand, and it's about opening up this black or gray box of urban metabolism. When we started with REPAiR, or before REPAiR, the information on flows on the cities were, in the best case, like here for Amsterdam. So Sankey diagrams were new, the quantities, which general economic activities were involved, and what leaves the city. But where in the regions are the flows flowing? What is the quality of the material? Who are the actors involved? And where is the potential for synergies? These things were not really clear. And in order to get there, we developed a method that we call activity-based spatial material flow analysis. And I'm going to be quick now in 5 slides, the basic steps of what this is doing. And my apologies to the people that put so much work in it, because there's so much data cleaning and operation behind it. So it looks now much more simple as in reality it is. So the first step, and I show you, this is the Amsterdam metropolitan region, a part of it, and I just show it for a subsample. So the first step is you locate economic activities, actors, companies, household, groups of household. The second step is you identify, based on nationally available databases, the flows between these actors. The third step is you add material properties. You see on the bottom right, on the bottom left of the slide, the materials that are in this map. So the different colors of the flows are different maps, and the different thickness of the lines between the actors is the tonnage, is related to the amount. And if you hover over it, you have even more information. So you know exactly from which company to which company goes, which type of waste, how is it treated, what is the tonnage, and so on. So we opened up the black box and have had a much better understanding of the waste flows in our case, of our case studies. I show you just quick examples here, and so Amsterdam and Hamburg, we used it indifferently for the whole metropolitan region or for certain neighborhoods. Interestingly, and I used the case of Naples here, is to show that one of the clear results of this ASMFA was that the metabolic region goes far beyond the metropolitan region. And that is something that is really crucial to understand. And the final 2 cases, Ghent, Distelbergen, and the Page agglomeration. So you see that even if you only look at one city, one metropolitan region, the system you're looking at is at least national, European, but more often global. But you can also, with this methodology, zoom into the detail of the materials. This is a slide, and apologies, it's in Dutch, from the latest strategy that Evelyn was just introducing of Amsterdam. And what it simply shows is that it provides us an understanding of, okay, which of the waste flows are actually reusable, which are reused, which is polluted in some sort, which are components which could be reused. So it gives, the method gives on the same time an understanding of the system and of the materials within the system, and that makes it so special and so handy for going on. Good, but now we are only at the understanding the status quo, the system. So how do we go on? How do we think of this future? And how we did that was with co-creation of eco-innovative solutions in peri-urban living labs. And you see on these slides, we were busy for 2 years in all of our cases with many stakeholders, a series of workshops, and using 5 phases in this living lab. So the co-exploring phase, where it was about developing objectives, understanding, having a joint understanding of the areas. You will hear this, by the way, one of the sessions in the afternoon digs deep in the living labs. Or then the co-design phase, where it was about jointly developing ideas from how we can get a step further to circularity. The co-production phase, where it was more about being concrete, developing the ideas into eco-innovative solutions. And the co-decision phase, where it's about understanding the different interests of different stakeholders, of different people, activities, municipalities in a region. And as you saw with the images, we combined there analog modes with ICT modes, with the GDSE, and we developed over 100 eco-innovative solutions that are described in detail, so that, and they are, and that is important, available on our online catalog on the webpage of REPAiR. So you can go there, use a filter, and you get a certain selection of the eco-innovative solutions. So how did we facilitate this process now? And we did that with the geodesign decision support environment. You see us here in Amsterdam using it with several groups of stakeholders. And it's important to let you know that the GDSE is a hands-on, insight-filled and interactive actor-specific spatial online tool. So it is web-based, but it's also a touch table. And I think that's the important thing. So it also brings people together and discuss it. Of course, now in our specific situation, this is different. We did also test, we had our last living labs in some of the cases online. So it works also in an online setting, of course, as it's web-based. But the original idea was actually to bring also people to a table and discuss and to communicate with each other. I'm just showing you now some screenshots on some of the parts of the GDSE, how the GDSE facilitates the progress. So it begins at the co-exploring phase, right, with co-exploring flows and space. So it combines a traditional land use based GIS with the flow maps, and people can zoom in, understand, filter, make queries and overlays, and therefore get a better understanding of the relations. Then groups of stakeholders actually can define strategies using these eco-innovative solutions, defining who should be, which actor should be in charge, where should it be applied, and so on. Multiple groups of actors in parallel to the strategies. The system allows then to calculate the changes in the flows in the system, that in the value chains that are in the GDSE, and display certain indicators. So whether the economic solutions applied have an effect on how much waste is generated or recycled, reused, incinerated, depending on. So this is what it allows. And further, it allows comparing between interest groups. So at the end of such a workshop, you see that different interest groups have different objectives, different strategies, different spatial preferences for strategies and so on. And this tool allows them to compare this nicely next to each other and facilitate and start actually a discussion about this. And important, it's also a means to document and keep transparency over the process. So I've heard from many of the Living Lab leaders, of the pool leaders, that yeah, it was really good because you could go back and see what was 1 year, 1.5 years to do. Good. Now we talked about strategies and getting the system more circular, but is circular also more sustainable? By definition, not necessarily. So what we added to our system is parallel a life cycle-based sustainability assessment. And important to this assessment is that it's multidisciplinary, so that you would expect, let's say, with a sustainability assessment, so it's economic, social, and environmental aspect, but it's also multi-size, so micro, meso, and macro, and it's multiple scale, local, regional, and global. So you see here already the interrelation of space, governance, and disciplines. The framework that we developed contains 28 indicators aggregated to 5 areas of protection. There's also this afternoon a session that explains this in much more detail. I just want to say that specifically the micro impact indicators are something that is really new. And important to say is also, we did not develop this alone as scientists, but together with experts across Europe and stakeholders to really define, okay, which are the areas of protection that we need to know, which are the indicators that we need. And with this system, we are able to assess specifically strategies, economic strategies focused on the waste management system. Here you see 6 strategies in hand and the assessment over this area of protection, and you can immediately see in which area of protection which strategy performs better and worse than others, and start this discussion going on. So now we had developed the methodology, the assessment, the economic solutions. Now, an important aspect in the project was learning from each other. And we put it there from knowledge transfer to knowledge co-creation, because very early in the project we realized that the transfer of ideas or best practices is to a certain extent very, very limited, specifically if the best practices or the innovative solutions are place specific. And also very often what is now considered a best practice in one case, not necessarily the case or the city would repeat, even if they would start from the knowledge of today. So pure knowledge transfer or the transfer of ideas would lead not to leapfrogging, so that cities can jump over certain technological developments and make the next step earlier on. And that was really important to realize. And we organized therefore knowledge transfer events in our living labs, where experts traveled with their eco-innovative solutions to the other cities and discussed those with the stakeholders and the actors in those cities. And the important thing was, it was not about handing over and trying to replicate, but it was about getting the thought process transferred and jointly learned. And that was the important aspect that happened. Also, it was important that we designed across pools. So also the development of the eco-innovative solution was not only done in one case by each other, but we, as we had several universities in the consortium that had also master programs of different disciplines, spatial planning, industrial ecology, urbanism, and architecture and more. We organized student workshops from the different universities in the different cities where disciplines come together, and they designed in rather fast and quick manner equinative solutions together with the stakeholders and the people of the place. And this was also something that generated an extra knowledge co-creation and transfer. Good. Now I'm nearly at the end of my presentation, and it comes to overcoming governance challenges, because we saw, of course, that the willingness and ideas and projects and also first policies and plans were there at the beginning, but somehow it was always a bit of it's very often a lot of niche or individual projects that are not they're not getting into the mainstream. So we try to understand, okay, what are the dimensions of that are hindering this becoming mainstream of circularity, and one of this is the multi-level governance dimension, where there's very often there are activities in cities, in villages, but very often it's also lacking the connection between local and regional, and also to the levels above, so the national and the European. So even if there are policies at place, very often in the implementation and in the praxis, this is lacking. And I should say here, so these are of course generalized statements over all 6 cases. The cases are differently in these barriers. But one thing that we saw really nearly in every case is that connection of circular economy and spatial planning is very weak in most cases. So although the idea of circular neighborhoods, for example, is one that is strong in some of the circular economy strategies, beyond that, so also on the city scale, or including the development of specifically of industrial or production sites and so on, is still rather weak. And also strategies very often remain local. They are not using to promoting circular economy in a larger regional scale. And the final is the multi-actor or quadruple helix governance barriers. And there we saw 2 phenomena, if you want to say so. On one hand is that in some of the cases there was a strong entrepreneurial and civic society that was really pushing for circularity to happen, but very often there was a lack in the support of the government bodies, because they didn't know, okay, how can we really support them? How can we help them? Or on the other hand, there was a few activities from economic sectors and citizens, and also a weak public sector. So that is then the extreme case in this. So now the question was, did we in REPAiR contribute a little bit in overcoming some of these policy impacts? I think yes, we did. For a research and innovation project, actually, we are very proud that in all cases our results had influence on the daily policies. So we heard already Amsterdam, so the Amsterdam Circular Monitor and the Amsterdam Circular Strategy. So both we had a little contribution to this. Specifically also Naples was an impact on several local and regional plans and programs. Also interesting in Hamburg, the climate action plan of this district of Altona is interesting, because this is one of the examples where the silos are broken down, because for the first time in the city, actually, the waste management and resource management was integrated in a spatial plan, if you so want. And we go on. Also a really nice development in Łódź, in the Psura region. Sorry, apologies. The Psura region, 19 municipalities were on the way to organize their waste management jointly. And through the discussions within REPAiR and inspired by REPAiR, they said, no, we don't go for a waste management center, we go for a circular economy center. And this is, I think, really nice to see that this happens. Also in Ghent, the research in REPAiR had an impact on how the already ongoing plans focused and steered, so specifically on looking at the organic and food waste. And finally, in Page, REPAiR was one of the initiatives that was part of the application for the Green Capital application of 2020. Since some weeks we know Grenoble won it, but still, I think it's a good sign that that cities aim for that and are ambitious. So I think we can all be proud that that we had with our research project did influence, and we pushed a little bit into the direction of more circularity. And well, I say thank you for your attention. Looking forward to the questions. I also say thank you to the people that's standing there on this on that lake for contributing to the project. And I'm looking forward to hearing questions now and answering the questions now together with the panel of the work package leaders.